Hello, fellow movie lovers, and welcome to the Adam Snow Movie Show. I am your host, Adam Snow, and I'd like to thank you for checking out today's show. We have a fun show planned as we'll talk about some news of the week, some new exciting trailers, and we'll round out the show by ranking all of the Ghostbusters films. This week, I am so pleased to have another stellar guest join me, as I have known this person for many, many years. She is a super talented artist, a movie junkie, and dare I say, just as big a Batman fan as myself, if not bigger, if you could believe that. Welcome to the show, Sara Bermudez. How are you doing, my friend? It has been a while.
It has been a while, but I'm so happy that you could have me on the show. I'm proud.
Yeah, we've done ever since we met is talk about movies, talk about Batman, and you've always talked about wanting to get into the talking about stuff on the internet game, which I think you've done a couple times, but
a couple, but nothing as serious as just being able just to sit down, be myself, and talk about things with my own opinion.
Yeah, if there's anything I want more than than anything, it's I want you to be you, because I want you to just be 100% unfiltered, genuine. It's what I love about you. It's every time I talk to you about stuff, I'm just like, all right, this dude's got opinions, and if I don't always agree, I at least know where you're coming from, and I appreciate the heck out of you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Let's begin.
Oh, snap. All right, you heard her, folks. All right, let's get things started off with some news. The first item this week is more of a rumor, but maybe it's got something to it, maybe not. But the rumor going around this past week is that Aaron Taylor Johnson, Quicksilver from the MCU, you've seen him in a bunch of other stuff, he could be our next James Bond. There's some conflicting reports. I believe the original report came from The Sun over in the UK, and then I think the BBC might have debunked it, so who knows if there's any real traction to that rumor. So my question is, Sara, are you a James Bond fan, first of all? And second of all, if he is the top choice, how do you feel about him being the choice as our next Bond?
I'm so conflicted with James Bond. Like, so
conflicted.
Yeah. Because, and it's the same thing, unpopular opinion. It's the same kind of emotions I feel with Indiana Jones.
Ooh.
Is that I think it's good. I love the action. I love the adventure. There are classic scenes. They're boarded well. Like, it's cinematography, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it really just kind of panders to, like, the male gaze. Definitely, like, I'm a guy. I could be with any woman. This girl could be, like, 2 decades younger than me. And I'm just like, really? Come on. Like, if they take that piece out of it, I think it would be amazing. As far as, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson being next James Bond, honestly, I'm for it. I ain't against it. I just didn't want someone who's already well established. I feel like it needs to be someone who this is his breakout role, right? And
Right.
He already's been in some other smaller things, but that's how Chris Evans was. I feel like before the MCU, before he became Captain America, he was in a lot of other little things, but people didn't know him. He wasn't like a brand name, and I feel like this could be the thing that kind of skyrockets him forward. I get it though. I kind of like put my hands off with like James Bond. I just like that's the guy stuff. Just like how I'm like, well, I got Harley Quinn, I got the Birds of Prey. Guys can have that one. Here you go.
Yeah, I am 100% there with you. Like, before Daniel Craig was Bond, he was kind of not a character actor, but he was in a lot of different stuff. Not a big major role, but he was a guy that was like, oh, I know who that guy is. If you've seen enough film. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson's the same thing. It's like, oh, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. I wouldn't exactly say he's like a super household name, which I think is a good fit for Bond. I loved him in particular in that Bullet Train film. I thought he absolutely crushed it. Yeah.
Loved Bullet Train. That was such a great movie.
And who knows if this Craven movie coming out is going to derail things for him or not. I just don't know how I feel about it, but I like him as an actor. I feel I like the James Bond films. I definitely think there is a lot of what I see a lot of your problems, especially with the early James Bond stuff. Like, there's no dancing around any of that. But I still have fun with it. I love the Daniel Craig Bonds. I think especially because that was more when I started getting into Bond. So I feel like
say Daniel Craig, he wins it over for me. There's just something about him where you have a guy who's very cool, calm, collected, can handle the world, and already. If it's anything like Daniel Craig, I don't know. I could see maybe be getting swinged into Bond. Like, I could be this could be my Bond.
Yeah, easily. I think that could be that for a lot of people. Because I don't know. I just feel like with the Craig Bond, they kind of reinvented things, and I feel like here they have another chance, especially after distancing themselves after he ended his run as Bond. Let's
Hmm.
maybe take it in a slightly different direction, and maybe it can change for the better. That's what I love about a lot of these franchises that go a long time. They're sustainable because they reinvent themselves and they try different stuff. And while there's a lot of that stuff we make fun of it for or get on it for it was the '60s, so that's just the way it was. It's like, well, you can't keep doing that over the decades, and as long as they can keep that trajectory, I feel like this franchise, should be in good hands, whether it's Aaron Taylor Johnson or not.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
so all right,
Guess we're gonna find out, and we'll just time will tell at this
time
point.
will tell. But I feel like it's also a good thing the longer they wait to announce a new Bond, because it's not official. So the longer we wait
Hmm.
until we hear about a new Bond, probably the better. You distance yourself from Daniel Craig, give this new actor, whether they're known, unknown, or super well known, a shot to just kind of build their own set of films. So,
Yeah, I feel like the good thing that Aaron Taylor Johnson's got going for him is that not too many people know him, like I
mhm.
mentioned earlier. Where I feel like, not to bring Batman into this, but when Ben Affleck was announced as a new Batman, everyone was like either for it, against it. Everyone was like split. Everyone was like, "What's going on? What
Yeah.
is this?" Where if it were more of a brand name known, they would have a harder hill to climb based
Hmm.
on it. Where if it's someone who is not as well known, but or has a history of like really great things, it could be more of like all right, let's give him a shot.
Yeah. I mean, a similar thing happened when Craig was announced because they were like, oh, a blonde haired Bond? Like,
Hmm.
what are we doing here? He's not my James Bond. And I think he's regarded as one of the better Bonds, in
Yeah.
my opinion. He's definitely my favorite Bond, probably. So I don't know. There'll always be backlash because fans suck, because fans got nothing to do than, complain on the internet, which seems to be the only reason the internet was invented, was for fanboys to bitch and moan. But I don't know. People are going to complain, then they're going to get over it. And they're going to say it's the greatest casting ever, and I don't know. It happens all the time. So I'm not even worried about any
Hmm.
backlash. Just give me the guy that fits this story or this turn as Bond that they want to tell, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
yes, we will. All right, and something a lot of people have been waiting for probably since, I believe, 1996, when the first film came out, is a Happy Gilmore 2. As news kind of came out at the end of this week from actor Christopher McDonald, who played Shooter McGavin in the original film, has said that Adam Sandler has shown him a first draft of a Happy Gilmore 2, and the film should be produced by his Happy Madison production company, who's already got a deal with Netflix. So the film should appear on a Netflix if this all pans out.
Hmm.
Sarah, are you a fan of the original Happy Gilmore?
I love Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, okay.
I love it. I just don't. What are they gonna do in the second one? Like, I'm so curious as to what the story would be. What's the script?
Right,
Is Adam Sandler coming back? Is this a whole new rendition? This is two, so it seems like it's a sequel on
right.
top of the first one. So years have gone by. Is this like a Cars 3? Where he's like, I'm training up my next protege. Who knows? What do you think, Adam?
Man, I really don't know. I think we've been bogged down with a lot of sequels to films that are considered classics, especially comedies. Like 30 years later, like Coming to America, the sequel to the original. I didn't mind it, but it definitely was nothing compared to the original. I think it's so hard to do sequels, especially decades later, to comedy, that I'm
Hmm.
very skeptical. And Adam Sandler's track record, especially on Netflix, isn't the greatest for me. I think the best film he's done so far has been that Leo cartoon. I don't know if you've seen that movie
I
yet.
have. It's actually
It
amazing.
it's charming, and I dig that one. So that might be the best thing he's done for me on Netflix. I know he had his great turn in Uncut Gems, but I don't know. I feel like comedy's hard to pull off. I I would still check it out if it looks funny. If you bring Christopher McDonald back, if you bring some of these other guys back, it sucks that Carl Weathers passed, so he can't even
Hmm.
do a fun little cameo. But I don't know. I'd be very curious to see what they end up doing if it actually happens. That's the other side of it. Does this actually happen?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm kind of curious too. Again, I think it comes down to like what the story is going to be. I
mhm.
think Adam Sandler is a great creative. I have loved a lot of his things that he's produced. I also have seen him a couple of times. Um, while I've been living in California, and also
Hmm.
from the things I've heard from other friends who've encountered him. He's like a really great guy.
Yeah.
He's very down to earth and very kind. So I'm rooting for him. You know, I just don't know what it could possibly be. Like you said, how can you bring a story from decades ago into the past and make it relevant again? It's
Right.
possible. It's been done before, but it's just like, what is it? So I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that's where I'm sitting at.
Yeah. If he's confident enough to show another one of the castmates the script, I'm sure maybe he's got an idea. But I mean, we've also seen he do sequels to films that were already terrible. Like I did not like the Grown Up films. Not a
Yeah,
fan.
not me either.
Um.
They were cute,
Eh.
like, but also, I wasn't a parent at the time, so I have no idea. But I don't know. It just very seems dismissive dad to me.
Yeah.
Not cute, but
I don't
but
know.
yeah,
Look,
Leo
like I
was
said,
amazing. If anyone hasn't seen Leo, I was shocked. And
same.
I hate to say it, I would say as a huge Disney fan, Wish dropped the ball, and Leo was the best animated musical of 2023.
You're boy, you're not wrong. I mean, that's
Yeah,
such a thin, narrow little segment of film, though. Animated musical. There wasn't a whole lot that came out, so
that's
I don't know
true.
if there's.
Honestly,
I mean, I
what other
defer to you
musicals
on
came
that
out?
one.
What other musicals came out?
That were
Wonka,
animated.
or
That
no,
were
no, just even musical. Color Purple, Wonka.
Color Purple Wonka. I
Even
can't think of
still,
it.
it's up there. Like
It's up
Leo's
there.
up there. I think the
Yep.
only one I think would kind of push it past is maybe the Color Purple. Maybe.
Mm. Okay.
But yeah, it was up there. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see if Adam Sandler still has the juice or not. I mean, or if this even gets we'll see how Netflix feels about it. It seems like they'll make pretty much anything nowadays. So I'm sure they're more than willing to do a second one for him. So,
Or is he all squeezed out of
well,
juice? I was trying to tie it back and I did not.
it took me a second to get there, but I was like, okay, I dig that one. All right. Anything else about that before we move on?
No, just to
All
see
right.
where it goes. I guess we have to see if it's even goes and gets greenlit.
Yep.
It's still
So,
even just a talking thing. So
yeah.
don't want to. Rather talk more about things that we know are coming,
Fair.
especially things that we've seen.
Granted, the news story this week was very light, and there was more rumors and what could happen, not substantial actual happening. So, in the future, hopefully, we'll have more concrete news. But in the meantime, what we do have, what we can visually see on our screens, are some movie trailers, and we got a few that came out this week. I'm very excited to talk to you about. Starting with Alien Romulus. This trailer it was more of a teaser, so it's about a minute long. It comes to you from 20th Century Studios, directed by Fede Alvarez, who is known for his Evil Dead 2013 and Don't Breathe, which is one of my favorite thrillers of the last many, many years. Supposedly, this film is set between 1979's Alien and 1986's Aliens, focusing on a group of young colonizers who come across a space station with the most terrifying life form in the universe. This film is scheduled to be released on August 16th, 2024. Sarah, what is your relation to the Alien franchise? Are you excited or not excited?
I'm super pumped. I saw the poster. It is the best poster of 2024. It's like perfect. It's like super subtle, like art. Like it just needs to be hung up on a wall. I have to revisit the Alien franchise. It's been a minute, but I remember enjoying it so much because I just love space. And it is it is a space horror, like space horror psychological thriller. Sigourney Weaver, amazing. The question is it because it's between, doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, doesn't the first Alien and the Aliens, it just picks back up from where it left off? Or is there a gap?
There is a little bit of a gap because she gets stuck in that cryo chamber and then she's found, right? Because the first film, more of a horror film. Second film, more of an action film.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this one, kind of going back to those horror roots. I think that's a big plus. Fede Alvarez leaning into that old school, well, for us, old school technology. Like, it just looks like that dingy, nasty, just space miner, stuff that they had in the first film. Because when, Prometheus came out, I thought Prometheus was a gorgeous looking film. Not that good, not a lot of substance to it. Or they tried to put a lot of stuff in it that just, I don't feel made the Alien universe any better. They just kind of I don't know, ruined some of the mystery. Tried to answer questions that didn't need answering.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know if you saw Alien Covenant. That was just a waste of time.
I did. Some of my friends were telling me it was just like not worth it. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I skipped.
Yeah.
It was not a watch.
And honestly, I've never actually seen the third and fourth Alien, because I always heard that the first two are the best. So I have those two on my shelf. I love those first two films so much. Saw the first Alien versus Predator, meh. But so to know that, or to find out that this film is going to lean more towards those originals, has me super stoked. And going back to the horror element, because
that's fair. It's funny. The first ever Alien movie that I watched was, I believe, the first Alien versus Predator. And honestly, is it the best? No. Is that the one? This is the one where the one girl survives, and that Predator pretty much is like, "You my girl."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they're besties by the end of it.
Honestly, though, that had me feeling some type of way. This is why I am the way I am, because of that movie. I was like, yes, got yourself an alien buffet. Yes, he's protecting. Yes, prove yourself with him. Yes, I'm living.
Now I would give any amount of money just to see you react like that in the theater. Like,
I know.
Get it, girl.
I'm so silly like that. If there's anything like bonding with a creature or alien where it looks like there could be like I'm over here like action horror or romantic comedy. You be the judge, but I was definitely.
All right, so all of you movie producers out there, you hear that some sort of Alien or Predator romantic comedy will get Sarah's butt in the seat. Like,
it will, and I think it will get a lot of other people's in the seats. I know some people. I remember TikTok. It was like what 4 years ago. They did a trend. They were just like, "Yeah, you like him, Alien," and then it would only be like he had horns, and I'm like, lame. Give me the Predator. Yeah, where it's not a humanoid face. How do we make that work? We'll figure it out. I'm practically his bonded hunter mate. Let's go.
I'd ask you your feelings. I'd ask you your feelings on The Shape of Water, but I feel like that'd be a discussion for another day.
Adored it. No, yeah, that's a whole different separate discussion. In fact, I didn't even think it was going to win the Oscar. I'm like, no, they ain't going to do this. She's a monster.
But they did it.
I don't know if we can curse on this.
But yeah, so back to Alien Romulus. Are you going to go see it day one, or where are you at with that?
I probably will. I'll probably see it that Thursday and or Friday, depending on who else can come with me. Just sucks because if you were around, I feel like we'd be like, let's go.
Right. I mean, I try to every week. Like, I got to drag my brother-in-law usually to go see it, something in the theater. So it's tough out here. Like, Michigan's a whole different animal than California. It's a lot tougher to get to the theater. All right, like
it is. It's like a journey. It's like you're going to Mordor. You just gotta grab a fellowship and then take a trek.
You know how hard it is to find a bunch of hobbits to take with me to the theater? It's very hard. So, all right, let's move on to our. What's that?
What else is coming out, Adam?
All right, what else is coming out? A second trailer for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, has been released. This is a Warner Brothers film directed by George Miller. Second trailer, I liked the first trailer. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about a Furiosa prequel. But after the second trailer, though, I have been even more hyped. I was already curious about Chris Hemsworth being like this new antagonist. I was already intrigued by Anya Taylor-Joy playing a younger Furiosa. And then this trailer just amped all of that up about tenfold. And I said, just give me the movie now. I am here for this bonkersness, this craziness. I'm here for George Miller's off-the-wall direction. How do you feel, Sarah? Are you a fan of the Fury Road movie that came out before this?
I love Mad Max Fury Road.
Are you a fan of the franchise?
It. Huh?
Are you a fan of like the franchise as a whole, or was Fury Road the only one you've seen?
Fury Road is the only one I've ever seen. I feel like I'm not like the biggest hard set opinion, but Fury Road, we went. I can't remember who took me. I went to it and I was like, what is this? Like, I don't even know. By the end of it, I was sat in that seat, ready for more. I love Furiosa. She was like one of the best parts of that entire film. That entire film was like art in itself. I don't know. I first saw that they were going to do a prequel, and my first thought was like, yes, more Furiosa, but however, comma, we don't get Charlie Theron, because I'm like, that's part of the reason why I fell in
Right.
love with this character. Granted, Anya Taylor-Joy is talented as hell. I think the last thing I saw her, because obviously she was in Dune 2 for like 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
The 2 seconds that we saw her. But the last thing I remember her that she was very prominent that I saw was The Menu.
Mm-hmm.
And that was amazing. And she did such a great job. She has like this focus. Some people have like inherently like, I will rule the world and I will plow you down to the ground if you're in my way. And she has one of those looks. It's just like, just a slight tilt of her chin. Her eyes are like daggers to anyone who's looking. I still don't know. I haven't seen the second trailer though. So you said you were won over. I feel like maybe we have like the same similar thoughts about it where it's like, I don't know. But maybe. So I don't know. I'm willing to give it a shot. But who knows? At this point, who knows?
Yeah. Like I don't know. I wasn't sure about Chris Hemsworth. It took me a while to realize it was Chris Hemsworth because he had like the big fake nose and he was going back to his Australian accent and really kind of hamming it up. And amping that up in this trailer, I was like, I'm here for Chris Hemsworth just not being anything we've seen him before and just embracing this crazy world that is the Mad Max universe, just these over-the-top caricature, characters and just dealing with the setting in general. I don't know. We need something like this that's just fun and colorful and just some of the best action, I think, in cinema, because Fury Road was just unbelievably shot, from just action choreography to cinematography. Sure, I'm sure there's a bunch of effects work also kind of laced in there, but George Miller does a real good job at keeping it as practical as possible. And the dude's in his 80s, 90s. He's up there and he's still crushing it with the visuals. So I don't know. I'm there day one for this. Fury Road definitely won me over. I'm like, they keep doing it like this, you got me.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I could jump on it. Again, I feel like I'm probably going to go. We're just going to see. But in a world full of like sequels, and definitely trying to like hype on nostalgia, I feel like there's just like a small gap of windows to do it right. And hilarious enough, what we're going to talk about later when we talk about Ghostbusters. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But the one sequel I'm super excited about is the other trailer that jumped out was Beetlejuice.
There you go, leading us right into the next one.
That's where I'm set. I'm set. And whoever made that trailer, like, give them a raise. Give them a raise. Give the person who decided to name it Beetlejuice a raise, because that's clever. That's clever right there. Because it's not like something two or something like you have to put it to try and like get out of two,
or just a weird subtitle. Like, I think back in the 90s, Spielberg, Burton wanted to do Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii or something silly like that. Like,
absolutely not. But thank God, Beetlejuice. This is like, it's perfect. It's like the next obvious. It just goes in with everything that we know about the story. Not gonna lie, casting is on point. I don't know how Jenna Ortega looks like she's related to Winona Ryder, but she does. Like, even more so than like some other characters that have played like her parents in that way. Like, it just kind of matches up. But what do you think about it?
Okay, I'm gonna admit something that I'm sure the internet will hate me for, and it's I've never watched the first Beetlejuice all the way through.
Really?
I know, as big of a Michael Keaton fan as I am, and I love Tim Burton, and I like Jenna Ortega, I like Winona Ryder. I just have never gone back and sat down or had the opportunity to sit down and just watch it front to back. You think some Halloween I would have done this by now, and I just haven't. It's just never worked out.
It's like such camp. It's so great. Like, I feel like you would eat that up. Like,
I think maybe part of it is like, maybe like when I was little and I saw some of those visuals, maybe they just scarred me enough to where like in the back of my head I'm like, just keep putting it off. Just keep putting it off for a little bit. Because like I remember being scarred by the trailer for Nightmare Before Christmas as a child.
Honestly,
one of those VHSs when the severed head gets pulled out, I'm like, nope, never seeing this film. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. So much. Like, I also, it was a prequel on a VHS of the trailer of it. I was
Yeah.
like, what did Santa bring you for dinner? Or what did Santa bring you? And then they're like screaming, and then they would always be making like they picked the weirdest clips. Like you could tell it was nothing like what the movie is. It's kind of, but
Yeah.
not really. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, when I finally saw the movie, I was like, oh, I had no reason to be scared of this movie when I finally watched it. So, I don't know. I feel like I'll sit down and I'll probably watch the first Beetlejuice before going to see the sequel because I think Michael Keaton looks great.
mm-hmm.
That little bit they showed him, I'm like, wow, this dude looks even better than he did in the 80s in this makeup. Like, I thought he looked great. And, Michael Keaton, we just saw him at the Oscars. He still looks great.
Absolutely.
I thought he looked great and did great in the Flash movie. I've liked his work the last few years. Birdman is one of my favorite movies with him in it. So on that standpoint with him, and hoping that this is a return to form for Tim Burton, because other than the Wednesday series, which I liked quite a bit that Tim Burton did, I have not really liked anything Tim Burton's done the last 10, 15 years. I can't even tell you the last film I loved of his. So
what did he do last? What was his last thing?
it was one of the Alice in Wonderlands, I want to say. Was
really?
it?
No way. He has
At the time,
to have done something.
look that up, because I feel like Alice in Wonderland was the last one he did. No, or was it Dumbo? Maybe Dumbo was the last one.
I think Dumbo was one of the last ones, I was a big defender of him when he got Dumbo, because I was like, he can do fantasy. Because some of my favorite Tim Burton films are like Big Fish.
Yeah, I love Big Fish.
One of my faves. So many very unique things. Yeah, Dumbo was the last thing he was an executive producer on. And then he was the executive producer on Wednesday. Which makes sense that Jenna Ortega's now.
Yeah. Because he directed the first couple episodes of that, yeah.
Tim Burton cracks me up because he's like Walt Disney when it comes to talent. He finds talent he likes and he's like, reserved for my next film. Mm-hmm. That's how Walt Disney was with like a bunch of voice actors. Sterling Holloway, everybody under the sun. He was like, you amazing. Do it again. I'll pay you. Like, please come back. And that's how he is with like all these actors. And I feel like he's missed, like, Johnny Depp is like kind of like walked away, so then he's just like, I gotta find somebody else. He's got Jenna Ortega now.
And who knows if this does gangbusters, which I feel like it will. I feel like this is going to bring a lot of people to the theater, and this is going to make some money. Whether or not it's good or not, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure the nostalgia will be there, but maybe this opens the door up for some of his other stuff that should get a sequel. Is there another Tim Burton property you would like to see a sequel to? Is it Edward Scissorhands 2?
No, I don't want them to touch that personally. Honestly, also because it's like, what else could you tell? Like, I feel like, a good example of this is I'm the horrible with names. Do you remember who the creator and the writers were for The Last of Us?
Oh, Craig Mazin was one of them, and then I can't remember the other guy's name. I know one guy was part of Chernobyl, and then they actually got the video game creator to team up.
I'm horrible with names, but what I love most about what they were saying is that people are demanding a sequel. Could they make money with a sequel? Absolutely. But he had mentioned, like, unless it's a story worth telling, where it's something that lines up with the story that we've told, we're not going to make it. And so that's something that I think it's really something that like a lot of people haven't done, is pursuing the new. What's the next big thing that is brand new? This generation's Beetlejuice. That is not something from the past remade, but something that's brand new from something creative. And I feel like Tim Burton has a lot of that in his brain. I mean, he was one of the first people to like start out and jump up. Did you know he actually got fired? He worked at Disney before, so he was an animator. And he actually got fired from Disney.
I've heard that story, yeah.
Yeah, he got fired from Disney. And I just feel like, sometimes you just have to get off on your own path and, keep kind of digging into that creative. I think he has so many amazing, the way he thinks is very unique.
Yeah.
It's just time to see more of the new stuff. It just sucks that I feel like he jumped on projects. I think Wednesday was really good, though, from what he was an executive producer on. I think he'll kind of redo his vision with this when it comes to Beetlejuice, something he was on the original project of. But yeah, I'd want to see something new from him, personally.
I hope so, because he's been dealing with properties the last several outings. So yeah, come up with something new. I know Beetlejuice is your original thing, so I guess he's entitled to do that. But yeah, I'd love to see something brand new from his brain.
If
Like
I
you said,
had
like
to pick something though, like if I had to pick like out of the properties that he's done, I mean, he's people have already kind of done more of a sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas. I'd love to see stop motion back again. That again is one of his like original babies.
mhm.
Like it'd be fun to see what these characters are going on or doing. Um, in fact, I think there's like a book
Hmm.
where it's really more Sally centric focus, and she's like the pumpkin queen.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I just like to see more. If I had to pick out of any, probably that.
Okay. And I mean, I would also, not gonna lie, I would love to see him maybe touch the Batman franchise again.
Oh
Bring
yeah,
Michael Keaton. Bring Michael
100%.
Keaton back. I don't think it'll happen. It won't happen. Not now. But I mean, boys can dream. Fans
Yeah,
can
I
dream.
definitely, God, I definitely want. I'd love it if he touched it. Oh, that'd be great. I'd love it if he touched it with Mr. Freeze. I know we had Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger, camp to the extreme. Mr.
Mhm.
Freeze is my favorite villain, and I just wish he would be like a more somber, but like still like emotional. Because again, it pulls at like you're doing something bad. Now I like put it all on Batman. Keep going back to Batman. I just it'd be so good. Like can you imagine like Edward Scissorhands but Batman make it Tim Burton? Like I just feel like that'd be amazing. Be somber, have some heart to it. Very similar to like the animated film from like 2000 some Sub Zero. That was
Okay, yeah.
still one of my favorite. I just love Ro. Love Mr. Freeze.
Well, speaking of Freeze, there was a new Ghostbusters film that came out this past week called Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And for our main topic this week, we've decided we're going to go back through and we're going to rank the 5 Ghostbusters films. Both of us starting at our number 5. We'll work our way to number 1. I guess before we jump into things, I do want to ask you, Sarah, where does the Ghostbusters franchise kind of sit amongst the pantheon of your favorite film series?
You know what's funny is I've seen the first and the third Ghostbusters movie. The second one, just like you with Beetlejuice, I haven't seen all of it. I've just seen
Mm.
pieces of it. And so before then, I was like normal average nerd. I like this. How well do I know it? Maybe a little bit more than I have to also give myself credit because some people I realize people who are fans they don't even remember so many characters and I'm like okay well I could do that so but I'm still like right hovering around average. After I saw Afterlife, boom, I was like bam, I suddenly was like over here like ready to go going through and have my own uniform. I'm just like I'm about to go and sign up. I'm about to move to New York City into a firehouse and I'm about to be a Ghostbuster. I wish I'd revisited them before this ranking. So this is all based on my past history.
Yeah,
But
same.
I'll definitely let you know that it's a little bit more higher than average, at least now as a fan. What about you, Adam,
Okay.
though? How where was it where has it been with you?
I'm definitely not like the biggest fan of Ghostbusters. I mean, I own them all. I have all the 4 films that are out on disc.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of liked them. I never loved them. I always kind of had issues with them.
Yeah.
Uh, but I always liked the comedy, Bill Murray, all them, the practical effects. I was always kind of enamored by all that that side
Mm-hmm.
of things. And as I've gotten older, I think I've appreciated them more and more as they've gone along. And like you said, especially after Afterlife, I think my enjoyment of those films and that series kind of jump back up, whether that's the nostalgia or maybe its place in my rankings. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, I will never say I'm the biggest Ghostbusters fan, but I will say I do enjoy the films. It's
Yeah.
kind of where I sit. So with that being said, let's start off. Let's start with you. And what would be your number 5 film out of these
So let's
Ghostbusters?
be clear. What are the 5 films?
So we'll go in the order that they were released.
Yes.
I believe it's 1984. You had the original Ghostbusters, obviously.
Okay.
Then you had Ghostbusters 2.
Okay.
Then we had to wait till 2016 to get the Ghostbusters female version. I don't know if they changed the title to Answer the Call. That's the subtitle they gave it, but I think it was just plain
I
old
think it's
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
But yeah, Ghostbusters 2016. Then we had Ghostbusters Afterlife in 2021. And then now we have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire as your 5 Ghostbusters films.
Perfect. That's what I thought. And with that being said, 5 Ghostbusters 2016.
Okay,
Rip.
right there with you. Yep.
Rip. And this is someone who is a woman who is so excited that we're getting these women to come in and be Ghostbusters. I think a lot of them are super funny. I think they're great. Leslie Jones, one of my favorite actresses and human beings of all time. I love her. Everything that she reacts to is the same way I would react to it. But damn, how did you mess up? How could you mess up? And I feel like they were trying to copy it almost exactly, like it was trying to be a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And everything fell flat. Like everything fell flat. They were trying to do their own thing, but still like almost tied to the original in a way where it like held them back. And it really was like practically a gender bent Ghostbusters, where they took the gender of everything in the original and they just said, let's swap it. Chris Hemsworth, I think, is in this one too.
Yep.
And I'm like, I love a good himbo. I love a good himbo, but he wasn't it. Like, I just... And you know what's so silly? Is I forgot that I'd even watched this movie. That's how bad it was. I think my mind was like, delete. You know, like an Inside Out where they take the little memories and they're like, forget it, and they like put it in the bin. Like, someone in there said, yeah, this was stupid. We hated this. And I forgot that I even watched it. I had my friend had to sit me down and be like, remember this and this happened, and you said this. And I was like, oh yeah. I hated this movie. What about you, Adam? You shared the sentiment.
So we got them in the same spot. It was such wasted potential because, like, going into it, there's all the bitch and like they're just gender swapping. This is pointless, and I was like, can we just give it a fair shake? Like, the casting was great. I thought the casting on point. I thought all the ladies, great choices. Not gonna lie, great choices. Absolutely. The execution, on the other hand, lacked a lot to be desired. I still will maintain, though, that I think Kate McKinnon is my favorite part of the movie. Kate McKinnon, I love Kate McKinnon. I have a big old crush on Kate McKinnon. I think she's wonderful. And what a waste. I thought this was going to be her big break, and like this is going to be like the thing that was going to shoot her up into the stratosphere. She's still well known. Everybody knows who she is, but I thought this for sure was going to be her like iconic role. Wasn't exactly that. I thought Chris Hemsworth was fun, kind of being that dopey kind of moron role. Kristen Wiig playing the straight man in that group, you know, I thought should have worked on paper, but they retread enough of the original Ghostbusters, and then they kind of brought the original cast back in such weird, goofy ways that, like, I mean, I get it. You want to put it in a different continuity. It's technically not even part of canon. It's its own thing, which is fine, but they just, I don't know. Like you said, drop the ball. It's just delete from my memory. I just remember leaving it going, yikes.
Yeah, and it sucks because I hate proving little whiny bitch boys that they're right about gender because it's not that. And I'm not going to be the one to defend it. Just be like, well, it was kind of good. No, it was bad.
It was bad.
For this iteration of it. Again, I just feel like maybe whoever was up there, and I know sometimes things happen in production where they just have to do certain things. And I think how this movie was pitched was like, let's just take Ghostbusters and flip it. And they really had no intention of pulling any of the other stories in. It's almost like this is the multiverse, and this is like just another version of a Ghostbusters that if maybe this would have been... I revert that, because even if you take it and like the only thing that it stands on is like the Ghostbusters name. Because even if you put it in a universe where no one has ever seen a Ghostbusters before, I still don't think it's good. I just think the pacing's not good. The acting's pretty good, but it really just relies a lot on like cameos, or what I remember, cameos and like Easter eggs, and what you know of the previous one.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know it, you have no emotional attachment to this, so then you're just like, what the heck did I just watch? Which, that's how I was when I think I watched this one. I think back then, this was the first Ghostbusters movie I've ever seen ripped to me. And then afterward, I watched one. Was really impressed, super happy, very campy. Because that's what it is. It's very campy, but it still had a lot more heart. But anyway, I digress.
No,
It's fine.
You're good.
It sat at the bottom. Sorry.
Yeah, and to kind of reiterate, look, it's not bad. And for those out there that said like it was going to be bad because it was just women Ghostbusters, it was like, no, it was bad because it was poorly executed. It's not because of the ladies. It's
no.
That's not the factor.
Yeah, no.
And
I just think the fact that, it feels like this is like evidence for them, right?
Yeah, that'll be the fuel of their fire. Yeah. Okay, you got one, but that's not even like a great example. So
it's like, shut up.
I don't know, between that and it just wasn't that funny. So that comes down to some writing where it's like the jokes were not great.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's hard to get behind something that's just not funny from the get-go, even when you got funny people. So
I will say though, Leslie can kill it though, because I think she walked into the room with all mannequins, and she was like, "Oh hell no!" And I just died because I also have the same sentiment when it comes to mannequins and or puppets. Cannot. So I feel that on a spiritual level. But yeah, not all the jokes hit. I remember not enjoy because I would have remembered if I had fun, and I remember being upset. So
yeah. All right, so we'll move on then to number 4.
You go number 4 this time. I want to see what you have for number 4.
You know what? Fair. I'll start at number 4.
I'm not going to change mine. I know.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. At number 4, I have Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, the film that just came out. I'm putting it at 4. So you don't have it at 4 either. So
no.
Okay, that's fine.
I do not. But wait, what did I have mine? Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay, we'll get to yours in a second. So I'll be quick with mine.
No, you're good.
Okay, so with Frozen Empire, look, I enjoyed the film. I just did my review over the weekend. I thought it was fun. There were a lot of subplots in it that I just wasn't a big fan of. I felt like it bogged the movie down a little bit, but it was still charming at a lot of points. Paul Rudd was still great. I still like all the characters. I just felt like there were so many of them, and they didn't give everybody kind of enough time to really be as charming as I feel like they've been in past movies. I think the villain was wasted a little bit. Kind of just showed up at the end of the movie, which I guess happens in the original Ghostbusters. But I don't know. With this one, I was just kind of like, that villain was so hyped up. I was expecting it to be more of a threat throughout the film.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, I don't know, 3/4 of a different movie. And then the last part of the movie was like totally different. But so it's not to say like I had a bad time. Had a good time. It's not the greatest movie. It's not the worst. It's definitely nowhere near that 2016 Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
but
no. And we're leagues above it.
Yeah.
But I will say, what I have is 4.
Okay, yep. Go ahead.
I'll tell you 4 and 3 because we're right here in that same kind of like little sweet spot. 4, I had Ghostbusters 2.
Okay.
And then I had Frozen Empire.
Okay.
And I think the only reason why I have it that way is, number 1, I still don't remember Ghostbusters 2, so I feel like this may change. I feel like your ruling would be good, because everything you said about Frozen Empire, I 100% agree with. It's just like, feels kind of choppy. This villain, for being such a like dangerous villain and to freeze all these people, was like, really, I felt holding back.
Right.
Like, he's like, I'm gonna let you. Let's go. And I just feel like it's funny because I feel like that's also like a Ghostbusters trope. It's just like, let me banter you into submission, or like, let me distract you enough to like, you're thinking like this, what they pose no threat to me, right? But there were just so many people in that firehouse towards the end. Like, so many people. And I feel like at that point we were getting kind of like fan servicey a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing, but unless it like really kind of drives home and hinders it. I almost wish they kind of saved some of those appearances for like later on.
Right.
Where they come in last minute as things are kind of seeming dire. And I'll make that comparison later on.
Yeah.
But overall, like, yeah, I don't remember much of Ghostbusters 2. I just remember I got bored when I was watching it, so that's the only reason why. I feel like there is some sort of more of like a deeper plot line. They're trying to relate it to like a mature audience. Definitely kind of bringing in family ties. I actually saw a lot of kids at the theater with their
Oh.
family watching Frozen Empire. So I feel like they were trying to like appeal to that, where I feel like Ghostbusters is still family esque,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely I think leaned more on like adults personally, from what I can remember. So
Yeah.
those are just my thoughts.
Okay. So then you already gave your number 3,
What's
which
your
was
three?
okay. So my 3 is Ghostbusters 2.
See that?
Yeah. But look, I remember this film. The my big knock on it is essentially a retread of the original. You just swap out a few things. You swap out the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for the Statue of Liberty at the end. You swap out the big bad at the end with a dude in a painting. I mean, I still have fun with it. It's more nostalgia for me because I just remember growing up having that and Ghostbusters 1 kind of either on TV at the time and I'd catch it, or like I'd catch a
Yeah.
parent or a relative watching it and I'd sit down and be like, yeah, this seems kind of fun and goofy. They're getting dumped in a bunch of pink ooze down in the sewers. Like, all right, like this seems funny. But I mean, other than that, I don't know. It's more of a retread. Uh, it's just nice to see those characters again, which is probably why I would put it higher than Frozen Empire, but
That's
not by
fair.
much. Yeah.
Again, I feel like these two I think are swappable, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I may change my mind if I go back and actually give two more of a shot. But everything you said about Frozen Empire, 100% agree. Like, man, I just was
So
like, oh my god, this could have been cut out. And I feel like they was trying to make a really like big point of Paul Rudd's character really bonding, with Phoebe.
yeah, it was a lot of stuff that just didn't end up getting fulfilled or really going where they
Rushed.
should have gone,
Yeah,
or
or it's very
rushed.
rushed. And I don't know, I just feel like this whole point of like Phoebe can't be a Ghostbuster, but then they're like, yeah, no, you are one. It's just like, yes. But also, do you forget that she made this giant mistake? She felt lonely and like
Yeah.
did this thing. Also, that kind of like was pushing it where I'm like, really, you're a ghost now for like 5 minutes and then you get to go back.
Right. I don't know. I didn't like that they dumbed her down. Because I loved her in the first
Yeah.
movie. Clearly we're gonna talk about that one coming up. I loved her in the first movie, but I was like, she's so smart. Why is she's only being dumb for the plot? And that's when it got me. I was
That's
like,
a
man,
silly reason.
yeah. So,
Anyway,
all right,
I
let's move
digress.
on. Yep. So number 2, what you got at number 2, Sarah?
Ghostbusters.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I'm with you. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Ghostbusters. Because here's the crazy part. I know we wouldn't be here without the main Ghostbusters.
Hmm.
And I love it, right? It's camp, it's everything. These guys crack me up, right? These ghosts and the effects of this were, for at the time, being able to do these types of effects were pretty amazing. Pretty groundbreaking. I remember even getting a chance to tour Lucasfilm, and they had they had like the, what's his name,
Slimer, yeah.
as like one of the big puppet effects that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's huge, and it's crazy. It's crazy to see like that this was a part of the actual film on that set. I was like, this is wild. So yeah, I think it's amazing, but I will explain a little bit more when we get to number 1 why I beat out. But I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, look, I got a buddy. I think you met my buddy Adam. He's a big Ghostbusters fan.
Yeah.
He, this is like in his lexicon. It's like every quote he will find a way to kind of reference Ghostbusters, and I think that also helped me like that film more. Is like it meant so much to a buddy of mine that I was like, all right, I could see it. I see the appeal. I see all the groundbreaking stuff. I even had a very uncomfortable moment sitting with my parents one time where they called each other the Keymaster and what was the other one? But it was very heavy sexual innuendo. The Keymaster and the
Gatekeeper, no?
And the Gatekeeper. Yep. My mom saying, "I'll be your gatekeeper if you're my Keymaster," and I told them both to go away because I did not need that at all. Watching whatever it was we were watching, and they were just like creeping me out. But I mean, going back and watching it, what a great cast. I love Dan Aykroyd, so great. Bill Murray. So great. I love. Oh God, who played? I can't believe I'm blanking on the actor who passed, who plays Venkman, or not Venkman. Oh my God, the help me out here, Sarah. I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Uh, Harold Ramis. Is that who
Yeah, Harold
passed?
Ramis.
Harold Ramis. There we go.
Who played
Like
Spangler?
Spangler. Thank you. Yeah. So I thought he was great in it. Just all their weird, quirky personalities, and then you get Ernie Hudson in there, and I don't know. I think between that, kind of the weird, like super serious situations of these paranormal things happening, these scary like
Mm-hmm.
ghost dogs, and then you throw in all that comedy and like Dan Aykroyd getting a a blowjob from a ghost at one point. Like, what is this movie?
Yeah.
It's like it was just a fun blend of like cheeky adult humor, but also just fun camp, like you've referred to. Bill Murray making fun of the god at the end of the movie, like I don't know. It just had
It's great.
charm all over it. Flawed to some points where I think maybe it's looking back on it, maybe feeling a little bit of the date, little dated, but I don't know. I think it's charming, but I saw it could have potential down the line for improving on it, which we could talk about it number one, because I definitely feel like the premise or the idea of what Ghostbusters could be was improved upon at a point.
Absolutely, because I think we both have the same number one,
Yep. Let's go
which
there.
is Afterlife.
Afterlife. I love it.
Jeez, and that's where I became a Ghostbusters fan. I watched that, and I became. I was like I was like over here, like full throttle. Put in an O for Onward, because I am now a part of this fandom in like a crazy way. Where do I even start? Oh my god! However you do a sequel, this is the way to do it, because it really pulls in people with almost like this mystery vibe. We still don't know a lot. We're trying to get to know these particular characters without starting to harp on what was in the past. So it pulls a bunch of people in. The idea to have some of the main characters be children, which, by the way, they're charming. They're so charming. Podcast cracks me up like
Love
nobody's business. He is so funny. Phoebe as this really awkward nerd, but that's very much like, I'm a scientist. Her character is so consistent throughout the entire film, where she's like, I'm very smart, I want to connect, but this is how I do it. Genius. Love that there's tension between, I can't remember their mom's name. I just, what's so silly is that the actress plays a character in The Gilded Age. So I just know her as Mrs. Russell. Anyone who knows, you know. But her having this strained relationship with her father, again, God, okay, cool. I'm going to go with points, though. The movie continues on, right? And I will admit, though, I feel like some of the backstory is crushed very quickly as to how this relates from the first Ghostbusters and where we are now in Afterlife. It feels a little rushed, so it's not like a perfect film. But if you're a huge fan of the first film, you can go into this really knowing what it's about, and kind of clicks. It's like a continuation of the story, even though it's years later. It almost feels like it is like a true sequel in that way. Where even though other events had happened, it really is closely tied to what's happening in the previous film. So I just thought it was like a great continuation of the story. And a great part of it too is that, a big part of like the Ghostbusters theme is that say like, we believe you. But yet Spangler, when he was talking about this and talking about this apocalyptic thing and this weird thing, his friends didn't even believe him in the end, which I feel like, it just ties it up and just, it was so good, because you forget about that. You forget about those little things that you remember from this first one. And at the end, I forgot, are we doing spoilers? I can't remember.
Yeah, spoil
okay, cool.
Spoil away.
I didn't know if it was.
Yeah.
Put a sign right now.
You're good, yeah.
But even at the end, having all these actors being able to like say goodbye to this, and then finally said like, I think they either said, I'm sorry I didn't believe you, or I believe you now. Like, God, I was like, this. I'm wrecked. Great cinematography.
Oh yeah.
God, it was just so good. And then just such a great callback of like, you know, comparing Afterlife, where there, or not Afterlife, Frozen Empire, where you have so many characters from the original coming back. That was a way to do it. You know, we're getting a fight. We have these main characters that we've known and we've kind of learned who they are throughout this entire film. We're seeing them struggle. We realize that it's not enough. Like, this is not enough. And then you have, you know, the main three from the past coming back because, you know, he felt bad. And Phoebe's phone call, I can't remember Dan Aykroyd's character, but
Ray.
That phone call was like beautiful because it even very slightly, again, who are you going to call? She called a Ghostbuster.
She did.
She's doing it again for like this like connection as to why, what happened. Little does he know that they do answer that call. Finally showing up again with the "We believe you." Finally, at the end, being able to like finish this unfinished bit. This movie's perfect. I can't even like. That's why it's at number one for me. That's why I'm like, this brings in like again the camp, because it got campy at the end.
It did.
And in fact, I would even bet, maybe not that serious, but I would bet something of decent value that some of the effects almost carried over. Like they used some of the same techniques from the 80s in this, or it felt very 80s. Like I remember when like they were transformed, the gatekeeper, like they, you know, possessed as the gatekeeper, and now see, I know the gatekeeper, I can't remember, and the keymaster, and they turn into those like gargoyle creatures, which were practical effects, which was amazing. It almost had like this weird kind of jaunty like 80s like transition.
Yeah.
Which I was like, this is Ghostbusters. Like, this is like, it's not like high definition, it's not like high tech, but it works enough that you can tell, and it kind of pulls in like these like older effects. Like, I lived my life for this one. Pulled my heartstrings. I cried when Spengler showed up at the end.
Oh yeah.
Because really, again, you had three, the symbolism of all this is like, you had three Ghostbusters come in clutch, but even they're not enough because you need four. It's always been those, you know, like the main group. So to have Phoebe there as like reprising that role and being like still young, to have her grandfather jump in there, someone who she now feels connected to, who was also a scientist just like her and had that personality, which I feel like her mother resented her for, because it almost, she can see that. Like they just played it so well.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I went on like a huge tangent.
No, you're good. I'm digging it. That's why I had you on here, because I knew you'd do this, that you're so passionate about this stuff. I love it. That's why we're friends.
It applies in with like the cinematography, the way like the beats were perfect, the music editing, it was all like a perfect, like, you know, we talk about like Remy, or when I talk about Remy for like Ratatouille, where he like eats a cheese, eats a strawberry, and then he takes both of them, and it's like freaking magic, and he's like going through like this foodgasm. Like that's what I felt in that moment. I'm just like, this is what it was for. It was right now. Anyway.
Look, I'm pretty much right there with you. This was my favorite film of 2021 when it came out. Like, you know, I give scores on my channel, so I gave this like an A. It was, you know, right up there. It did so much right. To me, the blending, it was like Stranger Things met Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And I thought it was that perfect kind of blend, because you also had one of the actors from Stranger Things. But I liked that for years they've been wanting to do a new Ghostbusters team. I thought, what a better way than, okay, you got a family member or family members, you got kind of connecting to the old, but we're really focusing on the new and them discovering all this stuff. And as an audience, it wasn't quite the nostalgia, like, remember this. It was, let's slowly rediscover Ghostbusters through the eyes of this next generation, which I think is how it's done right. It's not like a lot of these other places that just member berries. It's, yeah, we're going to throw some member berries at you, but we're going to do it in such a way that you're going to care about the rediscovery of this world. And I just think casting was pitch perfect. McKenna Grace as Phoebe was my favorite character in that whole film. I just absolutely adored her. And that's why when I saw the new one, I was a little let down, because the consistency wasn't there from film to film. But in this film, like you said, her character was consistent from start to finish. I think my only big issue with this, and while I still give it an A, that third act, when the other Ghostbusters do show up, as much as I loved it and I was emotional, I was like, oh, that's so cool. But I was also kind of like, maybe a little too convenient, but that's just me. Just me. But I think they just hit a lot of the notes. They just hit like it was different enough and fresh enough while also just being absolutely faithful to Ghostbusters mythology, building upon stuff from Ghostbusters,
Mm-hmm.
and adding some new stuff, some new wrinkles that make you go, oh, okay, like this could go into so many cool directions, which I feel like they started to a little bit in this
Yeah.
new movie in Frozen Empire, like with the whole, they got a new crew with this like lab that's focusing on all these different aspects. I was like, see, this is where this franchise could go. And this film, Afterlife, was the start of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just charming as all get out. It helped having Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, directing a film from a franchise his father helped build.
Yeah.
And you could see that, like whether like you were saying how they kind of seem like they brought back some of the 80s techniques. I wonder, him as a kid either being on the set or being around his dad enough to know like, hey, this is what's going to work. This is what's going to make this feel like Ghostbusters. And him applying that, and then losing him as the director of this last movie might be why that didn't, stick the landing quite as much.
It's possible. It is 100% possible. But I agree with the things that you're saying. I don't agree with Ghostbusters.
Hey,
they had enough time. They could have got there. Again, they knew where he was. They knew where he went to. They just decided
that's just the one. That's just the one little part that I go. I gotta maybe suspend my disbelief a little bit, but at the end of the day, we get to the same point where we both love this movie. We can disagree about that little part, but you're allowed. Hey, you're allowed to be okay with it. I got no beef with that. It's just for me, I was like little forced. I like the moment a lot though. Like I did tear up when I saw that. Like, and then the fading into dust at the end and all that. Like, God, like that whole moment got me.
That's how I feel though. With when we were talking about like the potential of what Frozen Empire could have been, I really wished. Because they were really kind of going on to this new idea. And this is where I thought they were going to go with it. And I was super excited if it wasn't, and then they never did. I got sad. So, the beginning of the film starts off with them, like, jamming more ghosts in this big containment area, right?
Right.
That has been housing all these ghosts from, like, even before, right? In the back in the day. All these ghosts just jamming up there. And in my mind, I'm, like, thinking, like, damn, that sucks that these ghosts don't get to, like, finish their business or like help to be like move on in ways like, why do these ghosts stay around? Are they human spirits? Are they other type of spirits? It kind of almost feels like they need to be categorized in that way, because some are and some aren't, right? So what I thought there, especially with this ghost where she was playing, what was her name? I can't remember her name. This ghost that played chess that was on fire.
Oh yeah, what was her name? Mallory, I think was the character.
What was her name?
Melody. Was it Melody?
Melody. It was
Melody.
So what I thought was
spoiler alert for people who haven't seen the new one, by the way, which is fine.
Well, we put, remember in the first one I was talking about after, I put big spoiler on the top. So it's your fault.
Hey, it's all good. The movie's been out. They should know. When you come to these shows, we're going to talk in spoilers. I have spoiler-free reviews for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else is automatically spoiler.
Yep, there you go.
No, like, I really thought that, because her goal is to move on. Like, that's the only reason why she's going through. I thought maybe even Ghostbusters were going to evolve. And also, this is me with, like, creature. There's any type of bonding with, like, creatures or other life forms, I'm, like, in it. I'm like, please, I want a kumbaya. I want spirits to help out. Because at the end of the day, too, it almost gives me, like, How to Train Your Dragon vibes in a way. Well, not really there, but, like, it's probably something that's been done before. Where there's, like, this entity that is, like, this big thing that wants to control other people, but it's not the best for us as humans, but it's maybe not the best for ghosts either. I know it's like really, really camp, but it would have been fun to see some ghosts especially because I thought that the one ghost, the possessor, was almost warning them, being like, what are you doing? Stop it. Like, stop doing this.
Right.
So, and even those like little marshmallow dudes, what are they called? I can't remember. The little
the little Stay Puft marshmallow guys.
Yeah, little Stay Puft marshmallow dudes. They were even like, that thing came into the shop and they were scared. They ran away. So I was like, oh, like this is even scarier for them. And it was really building this up to be like even a bigger bad that we really need to take seriously. And so, yeah, I wish it was like a little bit more on that side where it's like almost like we're kind of like not to say all ghosts are good, right? All ghosts are cooperative. But it would be nice to find some ghosts who are like, we're here to study, but some are trying to live kind of in peace. Some need to be
Right.
contained. I thought that little zoo in the lab was pretty fun. I was like,
Hmm.
ooh, oh, we got things in here. The one in the darkness, though, was creepy as hell.
That was creepy as hell. Yeah, like I think like missed opportunity. I hope they get
Yeah.
another one. I think they can get this series back on track pretty easily. It's just I don't know. I would love to see it go in that more direction, like you were saying. Like go a little more like let's not fight a ghost, but let's figure out how to like help a ghost just move on instead of just keeping them in a containment unit for 60 years or however long they've been stuck in there. Like
Because some may need to be lived there. That's the solution for now. But
right.
what's the solution for everybody else? Like, you claim to help spooks or to help everyone get away from these spooks, but maybe part of the solution is creating different teams. That
Yeah.
deal almost like different units of like, the police force.
Which is kind of what they look like they were starting to do in this movie. Like they had
Yeah.
that whole little unit, which yeah, drop the ball. That I would love to see them explore that.
Yeah,
If they
I
do
would
another
love
one.
to see a little bit more. And I thought that's what they were leading to because they're just like, look at how packed everything is. And I'm just like, oh, so you're going to help some of that? Oh, maybe some can live in kumbaya. Like one Casper flies out, he goes, listen to this happen.
Right. See,
like,
having Casper come back would actually be a great little nod to Dan Aykroyd popping in and the Casper movie is his character from Ghostbusters. I feel like that'd be a fun little, bringing that back
time.
around.
But yeah,
that'd be great.
But seeing them
But
like back, it really split everyone up, right? Because you had still some characters from our original Ghostbusters, but now that are sharing that spotlight with this new cast, so it was really hard to give screen time where it was needed and to move and progress the storyline. That's where it felt clunky.
Yeah, and like I just what was it like my big example to me where they like rushed the story was the Finn Wolfhard's character, the brother,
Yeah.
like not letting him drive at the beginning. Then they didn't really touch it during the movie,
Nope.
and then at the end they just threw him the keys. I'm like,
yep.
I feel like we're missing something in the middle there.
Yeah, and I missed out. I think there was another scene where he was like with Slimer. But it's like, what was there? Like he didn't catch him, he didn't befriend him, he didn't come. It's just kind of like he was there, and he later on like screamed like enjoy. Actually, I may change it. I may switch Ghostbusters to 4 now. I need to watch Ghostbusters too, but I think we'll probably have the same brain with our list now because now I'm like really starting to digest this, and it's not digesting cleanly. It's not clean. I gotta say, I'm gonna be a little gassy after this one.
Well, before you can change your rankings on me, maybe we should just call that a day. Wrap this episode up, Sarah. I could talk to you all day about Ghostbusters or anything else. I would definitely love to have you back sometime.
Hey, don't tempt me with a good time, okay?
Hey, anytime. If there's a movie coming out and you want to figure out like a related topic, because I like to try to keep a related topic to new stuff coming out, you can always get a hold of me and go, hey, I call dibs on, Tim Burton movies when Beetlejuice comes out or something like that.
That'd be fun. Or even one thing I'll leave you on, Adam, is have you seen the trailer for The Wild Robot?
Oh, The Wild. Oh, are you kidding me? I talked about that a couple weeks ago. I am so excited.
Well, put this in as my official RSVP because I'm gonna want to talk about The Wild Robot.
Okay, I'm down. I'm going to tell you right now. I feel like that's going to be this next generation's Iron Giant. That's
why I said it was Iron Giant meets WALL-E.
Yep. And I'm not even a big WALL-E fan, but I love Iron Giant.
Adam, I'm about to get on a plane, punch you in the ground.
I don't blame you. I know I'm in the minority on the WALL-E train.
Bruh, I'm about to convince you. We're get off of this.
That's another story for another day. And hey, even like Pixar stuff, because we got a couple Pixar films that are supposed to come out this year. And I always defer to you when it comes to Disney and Pixar and stuff. So might have to bring you back for some of those too.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah. All right. I'm super excited about that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out. Again, I would like to thank my guest, Sara Bermudez, again for being with us and just, showing us that film passion I was talking about at the beginning. Sara, thanks so much for hanging out today. Is there anything you'd like to plug or whatnot? Let people out there know where they can find you if you want.
Sure. Yeah. I'm on Instagram, Sara Bermudez Art, but just catch me over here. Keep watching Adam's show. He's pretty awesome. So
Oh shucks,
Plug
you don't have
you
to
in
do
your
that.
own video.
Oh shucks, you don't have to do that.
No, I
But
always will
Sarah,
do it.
again, I appreciate you so much. Seriously, like it's been a while since we've talked, but anytime we can sit down and talk movies, it's like we just pick up right from the last time we saw each other. So
Absolutely.
I
That's why
dig
we're gonna
it.
do it again.
Yes, we will for sure, guys. So that'll do it for this week's installment of the Adams Show movie show. And until the next one, guys, I'll be seeing you.